Hello, on behalf of Hope Worldwide Australia, I'd like to give our supporters, the International Churches of Christ and the wider community a brief update on the COVID situation and our response in the South Pacific region. So we're now in early April. I've had a busy week as a GP working in Melbourne, and a lot of my patients now I'm seeing by telehealth. Unfortunately, we've had one of the staff tested positive, but they're self-isolated at home. I had my test last week and I was fortunately negative. And I'm also learning a lot about Zoom and different things you can do. I've learned that on the phone, if you do press *6, you can mute and unmute, and *9 to raise your hand. And also if you're on a laptop, then if everyone's muted, then the spacebar is quite good because you can press that to unmute yourself. So I want to talk a little bit about Hope Reps. So they are individuals spread around the SPA region that coordinate with the supporting Churches of Christ, and they coordinate activities to help the needs of those who are less fortunate. So that will be members within the congregation, but also the wider community. And so we've just started, as of last week, a weekly Zoom conference call to meet those, to think about what needs there are. Each has got an allocated small budget, and donations have been largely given by members of the SPA region churches. So I do want to thank you for that. If you're in a position where you would like to donate for the COVID-19 response across our region, and I think especially as needs will be growing in places like Papua New Guinea and Fiji, where the economies are not as strong, then please go to our website, hopeworldwide.org.au, the donate page, and there's a button there for Give Now, and just under the comments messages section, just put COVID-19. You can add SPA. So in Australia, what's happened over this last week? So we have gone up in cases from 4,000 to over 5,000. We're still having a very low number of deaths, so around the 24 mark as of yesterday. The general numbers do seem to be increasing, but luckily the community transition or transmission is still low, so the social distancing is working. So please, no slip-ups, just keep up with doing that. There is a slow increase in the number of sick people in hospitals, but the healthcare system is working well and not being overwhelmed. There's still a lot of training and capacity, so that's the good news on the health front. In terms of the supporting churches, the Sydney Church of Christ had 20 members that were tested positive, and fortunately most of them are on the road to recovery, over half now, and no other members have been found to have the virus. And in other churches as well, people have got coughs and cold, but the normal thing, and viral type things, and they're all at home isolating anyway. So continue to pray for people across Australia. People have lost jobs, but also it's been fortunate that the government is helping out in many cases. So in New Zealand, we've gone up from 100 cases to 800, and they had their first death last week. I was talking to Duncan Wilson, the Hope Rep there. There is a lot of unemployment, specifically in the air industry and childcare, but the government support is helping. The Auckland Church of Christ members are doing well. They're really responding well to the virtual meetings, and there's great communication. If anything, I think Duncan said probably there's more communication now than there was even prior to all those online apps. In terms of community support, so there are a number of church members involved in the healthcare industry, so they're working hard. Also, Hope is looking to, and the church is looking to contribute to a food bank to help with food security. Moving over to Fiji, so again, it's been encouraging that they've only had a handful of cases of COVID-19, about 7, and no deaths as of yesterday. Speaking to Alex and Atu, the Hope Reps there, unemployment is going to be the biggest issue. The Nandi region has been most hard hit because many jobs rely on the tourism industry, which has been absolutely decimated. And one of the big employers there is Rosie's, where quite a few of the church members are employed there, and they've had to lay off 600 staff. In response, Alex and Natu are setting up a benevolence group, and they're looking at needs in the church and the wider community, and they're brainstorming about fundraising, about how to help people with maybe new jobs and skill diversification, as well as providing for food security. Moving along lastly to Papua New Guinea, where again it's been encouraging that only one confirmed case, and that hasn't gone up for a week or two now. And so we're really hoping that there's no hidden cases. I was talking to Priscilla Mal, who's the country director, who's working very energetically with the Hope Clinics. And so there's 2 clinics there that are preparing for any outbreak that might happen. And so they've just erected a tent. A second one is on the way. And so they have that again as a place for screening for people with potential COVID-19 infection. So again, with these clinics, they are some of the busiest in the country. At the moment, they're still treating TB and HIV, and this group of people are particularly vulnerable to viral infections like COVID-19. The government does have supplies of the personal protective equipment, but as yet it hasn't been delivered to any of the clinics. So please be praying for that to occur. Hope Australia has purchased some items, masks, gloves, goggles, gowns, hand sanitizers, and so we're now looking to get that flown across with the help of the Australian government. We do have a second supplier from overseas, but again, suddenly the air freight has escalated in costs, so that may be prohibitive. So again, please be praying for situations, doors to open up, so that supplies that are needed can get to where they're most needed. It is encouraging as well locally that they're being very resourceful. So staff are using, they're actually making their own hand sanitizer with mixing bleach and water together in the right proportions. And I'd like to just finish off by sharing Galatians 6:10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. And so I think for us, the priority, we need to look after our own families, our spiritual family, but it doesn't stop there. It's to all people, to the wider community. So to encourage us to keep doing good to all, pray for your safety, and thank you for your support and your service.